What's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back into the video today. Today, the Buffalo Bills have signed defensive back safety from the Houston Texans and the Denver Broncos, Kareem Jackson. Last year, the safety played for the Houston Texans and the Denver Broncos. He played 8 games and 8 starts with the Broncos with 2 interceptions, returning those 2 interceptions for 5 yards. He had 3 passes deflected as well, and he also had 51 tackles, and 36 of those were solo tackles, 15 were assisted tackles. And he was then waived by the Broncos and returned to the team that drafted him, the Houston Texans. Texans drafted him in the 2010 draft, drafting him in the 2010 draft, 20th overall, and he was with the Texans from 2010 through 2018. Then he signs a deal with the Broncos. It was with them from 2019 through 2023. They waive him. Texans claim him from waivers, and he joins the Texans. But he only played 2 games in the regular season with the Houston Texans. He had 2 tackles, and that was it. And then the playoffs, he played one of the Houston Texans' 2 playoff games, and he had 1 tackle. In 2022, Kareem Jackson played 17 games and 17 starts with the Denver Broncos, and in those 17 games and 17 starts, he had 3 passes deflected, 2 fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries, 2 yards returned on those 2 fumble recoveries, 94 yards, 94 combined tackles, 55 solo tackles, 2 tackles for loss. I want to mention that the 2 games that he didn't start with the Houston Texans in 2023 was the first 2 games that Kareem Jackson has not started in since the 2017 season with the Houston Texans, when he played 16 games with the Texans in the 2017 season, starting in 14 of them. In his career, from 2010 with the Texans all the way from 2023 with the Broncos and the Texans, he's played in 203 games in his career, and he's started in 193 of those games. So there are only 10 games in his career where he has not started. 2 of those were this year with the Texans. The others come 2017, not starting in 2 games with the Texans, 1 in 2016 with the Texans, 2 in 2015, 1 in 2012, and then 2 in 2011. So only 10 games in his career where he has not started. So that's pretty good for a guy who's played 203 games in his career. He's 36 years old. So I'm interested to see how he does going into Buffalo. They're definitely a team that needed to add in a safety, and that's what they're doing in this signing. But he's a guy who's 36 years old, and he did look okay with the Broncos in 8 games with 8 starts. But then he went to the Texans, back to the Texans, where he was drafted and really didn't do much. So be interesting to see how he does going into Buffalo. And I'm going to make a prediction. I'm going to say that I think this very well could be Kareem Jackson's last year in the NFL. With having a little bit of a down year last year and him being 36 years old, and he'll turn 37 after this upcoming season. He's at an age where, for a defensive back, this is around the age where you don't really see defensive backs like cornerbacks or safeties playing anymore. So it's still surprising at his age he's still playing this long. He's been in the league since 2010. So I'm gonna say that I think this probably will be his last year in Buffalo, but I'm hoping it is a good year in Buffalo. But could be a really solid year because, like I said, he's a guy who usually always starts. I don't know if he'll be a starter in Buffalo, but he's a guy who's really in his career always been a starter. 203 games, 193 starts, and also, he's been a really good player when given the opportunity to start. And his career has 22 interceptions, 3 pick-6 touchdowns. Also has 7 forced fumbles, 7 fumble recoveries for 108 yards, and 1 touchdown. So I'm wishing it to be a really good year for him. If it is potentially his last year, really hoping he finishes his career on the right note if this is potentially Kareem Jackson's last season. And, of course, I'm wishing him well with him being a Texan legend because he was drafted by the Texans, spent 10 seasons with the Texans, 16 interceptions with the Texans. So, Kareem Jackson was a guy who was a big part of the Texans defense when I started watching these Texans. I started watching the Texans in the 2016 season, and so I watched him on the Texans defense for 3 seasons from 2016 through 2018, and he was pretty good in those years. So let me know your thoughts on the Buffalo Bills signing Kareem Jackson in the comment section. That's the video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and peace out.